it's an interesting point when you're a senior entrepreneur. You've done it more than once and you've got more than one company. You reach the point of saying, well, how much do I want to sacrifice? How much time do I not want to spend with my grandchildren and my children? And you turn around and say, well, actually, if you look at it in societal terms, if you spend all of your life learning and none of your life teaching, what was it all about?
Having worked in some very innovative towns, if you like, particularly in Scandinavia, where the ecosystem around that supports that constant design, innovation, new products. New Zealand's quite unique. There's elements and places in New Zealand where that creativity exists. I don't think we've necessarily harnessed it. And that's a great reason to keep businesses in New Zealand, particularly like ours.
And so there comes a point in your life where you say, if I've learnt all this and I don't then go on to teach it, then somebody else has got to start from zero. So I think it's incumbent upon senior entrepreneurs, particularly in this country where we say we've got a lot of entrepreneurial talent, but we actually don't have a lot of entrepreneurial skills.
One thing that I guess concerns me a little bit is the sort of number 8 wire thing. I mean, I think even though that's part of the sort of cultural New Zealand lexicon, I think we have to move beyond that, because that was about doing a lot with not very much, about being versatile, and I think that's a fantastic story. But you kind of I'd like my children to be telling a slightly different story, which is not just about invention, but about entrepreneurship.
I've dreamed up schemes for training entrepreneurs, and let's start with what I think is the model. Screen for entrepreneurial behaviour. And this is psychological profiling. Find out who, very early on, secondary school or even earlier, who is psychologically capable of handling the stresses and strains of being an entrepreneur and has the risk-taking profile and the intellect to be able to do the sorts of things that are required.
The opportunity to move beyond just invention to entrepreneurship and creating value or capturing value is it the education system? I mean, that can improve. I mean, we don't teach entrepreneurship at universities, and it's not just university graduates, it's got to be from day one in school, really, because many of the people that will go on to lead companies in New Zealand are not necessarily going to be university graduates.
And then there is the bag carrier, and this is the important bit. They follow around an entrepreneur, and my first iteration of this thinking was, well, they should follow around someone like me, and because I'm an entrepreneur and so I know what I'm doing, and they should learn from me. And then I realised, well, actually, the second time round, you're no longer an entrepreneur. As such, you behave more like an investor because you've got more money, and those moments of terror that you feel as a new entrepreneur are hard to replicate. So now the bag carrying, the university graduate profiled for entrepreneurship, is actually working with a younger entrepreneur who's perhaps going through something for the first time and has a senior entrepreneur mentoring both of them at the same time. So the bag carrier is in the warfare. Those moments, like warfare, it's 90% boredom, 10% sheer hell. In that sheer hell moment is where all the learning is. And that's where the wisdom of the senior entrepreneur can make a world of difference to both of them.
So I think as a culture, we just need to become more entrepreneurial. We need to value that sort of more of a capitalist attitude. We should be proud of striving to become a wealthy country rather than sort of being embarrassed by it.
I think it is true that, the tall poppy syndrome is well and truly alive in New Zealand, but, part of becoming an entrepreneur should be the training, that we train our entrepreneurs. This is what you're going to go through, this is what's going to happen, and failure means this. It's not failure, it's actually accelerated learning. And yes, the general public may take a dim view of your accelerated learning, but put it down to cost of training and move on. It's not how many times you fall over, it's how many times you get up that makes the difference.
And so I think we need to move beyond just 100% pure New Zealand. It needs to be 100% pure and smart, and we should be proud of that. One of the challenges of doing business overseas in the software sector is the 100% pure brand. I mean, it's a fantastic position for New Zealand to play in the world, but great software coming from the world's recreation park is a challenging position for us to be in. So I think one of the opportunities for the leaders in this country, of the multinationals and also the smaller software companies like us, is to shift people's perception of what technology can come out of New Zealand, and it can be very good. But we've got to brand it, we've got to be proud of it, and we've got to be a little bit more bold in terms of how we tell the world about it.